howdy there. Welcome to VGMporium. And I got something pretty interesting here for you today. Sometimes like you'll play multiple games and like they'll have the same characters in it, but sometimes, like most of the times, it'll take the original theme of theirs and it'll be slightly remixed or rearranged, whatever, but it'll be like kind of, a different take on that theme. But in a few cases, you'll have the same character in the same, like a release of the same game on a different console or within a game that's within the same series. I don't know how to explain it, but their themes are totally different. And that is the case of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to be sharing with you the musics of both Tengu Man and Astro Man from the games Mega Man 8 and Mega Man and Bass, or Rockman and Forte. It's just kind of funny how I'm doing a Mega Man focus episode with this subject when, I probably should be doing something a little bit more special, but I might wait until towards the end of the year because, fun fact, the original Mega Man was released for the Famicom in Japan on the same day that I was born. So I might save that for around the time of my birthday, because that'd be a fun thing to do now, wouldn't it? So a good gauge of how old I am, whatever anniversary it is for Mega Man this year, that's what I do be. The answer is 35. So before we get into this proper, the track that we came in on was Stage Select from Mega Man 8 by Shusaku Uchiyama. We'll get to talking about him after the next couple tracks. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to play you the Saturn version, then the PlayStation version, and then the Rockman and Forte version, which that was actually a different set of composers, which we'll get into after that point. So, without further ado,
I'm Tengu Man.
You just heard a big old batch of Tengu Man theme. First from Mega Man 8, the Saturn version, and then the PlayStation version, both composed by Shusaku Uchiyama, and then the one from Rockman and Forte on the Super Famicom was solely composed by Akari Kaida, because there were 2 other composers on that same soundtrack, which would be Kiri Kiri-chan and Naoshi Mizuta. So now we come down to the question that George Carlin once asked, but with 3 different things. So to quote, said, "There's flammable, there's inflammable, there's non-inflammable. Why are there 3? Because you figure, he made one theme, like the Mega Man 8 originally came out on Sega Saturn, and he had that theme right there. They could have easily just reused that theme in the PlayStation version, like they did with all the other tracks, but he made a completely new track for it. And then with Rockman and Forte, they could have just taken the Saturn track and just downported it to the SNES. But no, a different theme, but of course that is different composers. But yeah, it's just kind of a silly little thing. Maybe he just wanted to try something different that fit more with the stage on the PlayStation version, because Tengu Man's theme or stage in Mega Man 8 is just all floaty and all over the place. You're on this giant floating, almost looks like a kappa-headed bird thing, and it's just clouds and just I think most of it's kind of just slowly scrolling forward. So he probably just made that version of it on the PlayStation to kind of fit with the stage better than the first Sega Saturn version, but I prefer the Saturn version. But nothing can beat what's on Rockman and Forte, because, Rockman and Forte's soundtrack just has an undeniable charm. Can't quite explain it. So now let me tell you a bit about Tengu Man himself. He is a man that is a Tengu that doesn't quite look like a Tengu. It looks more like a hummingbird with this, how Tengus have the 3-leafed weapon thing. He has that, but it's these these green metal laser blade things. I don't know. Throws it at you. Tornado hold! A move we'll see make a comeback in Marvel vs. Capcom, alongside that curious soccer ball. But yep, he's just floating, flying around the place. He'll dive bomb you, do all this crazy stuff trying to knock you off the edge. And then when you beat him, it's regretful. So now a bit about Shusaku Uchiyama. He got to start doing the music for Mega Man X3, next did Mega Man 8, would work on Resident Evil Director's Cut, Resident Evil 2 for both the PlayStation and the N64, did the sound technician for Devil May Cry, would be the lead composer for the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube, Piano 3, Under the Skin, Resident Evil 4, would assist with the Rockman EXE 3DS and 6 Music Complete Encyclopedia CD, Devil May Cry 4, Rockman 9 he contributed on the Range album, Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles, did a boss theme for Mega Man 10, would work on Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and this was his last actual credit as a Capcom employee. He would go freelance, but he would come back to help out with Resident Evil Damnation, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil Village. So as you could probably tell, he was one of the main go-tos for the Resident Evil series. Now let's move on back over to Rockman and Forte and tell you a bit about Akari Kaida. Now if I remember correctly, I believe I had already gone over her on one of my previous episodes, but never hurts to do it again. So before joining Capcom, she was a jazz piano major at the Osaka College of Music, which explains a lot. And when she did join Capcom in '94, she got put straight on a few projects, being Night Warriors Darkstalker's Revenge, Cyberbots Full Metal Madness, and the arrangements for the console versions of Street Fighter Alpha. Would go on to co-work on Breath of Fire 3, and then would work on this, Rockman and Forte. Did Trick and Snowboarder, Dino Crisis, Mega Man Battle Network, one of my personal favorites, Onimusha 3, Rockman EXE 4.5 Real Operation, Mega Man Battle Network 5, Okami, Luminous Arc 1 and 2, Mega Man Star Force 3, Rockman EXE Operating Shooting Star, Mega Man 10, she did the Blade Man stage, Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side, third story, New Love Plus, did arrangements on Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and the last project I could find was Shunatham Seelish Takt, the Desert Hunting Girl. And so with that, I feel it's time to move on to our next Robot Master that has multiple themes, and that is...
I'm Astronaut.
that was Astro Man's theme. First, from Mega Man 8, composed by Shusaku Uchiyama, and then second, from Rockman and Forte, composed by Naoshi Mizuta. And on this run, I'm gonna say I prefer the Mega Man 8 version over the Rockman and Forte version. You know, they both work for the version of the stages they have in each game. So, like, you know, Mega Man 8 is a lot more kind of, not psychedelic, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, you know, you start the stage off and there's, like, all these clock flowers in the background all over the place. And then eventually you warp to inside the stage and, you know, it's all kind of MC Escher looking, so kind of trippy. And then the Rockman and Forte version is just kind of straightforward, like, you know, stars and galaxies in the background. Really just simple kind of backgrounds and everything all the way through until, yeah. So, you know, they both each work for the respective games, but I prefer the Mega Man 8 version, though, because it's just a little bit more, yeah, a little bit more going for it. So I've already given you the rundown on Uchiyama, so let me tell you a bit about Naoshi Mizuta. Though, if I remember, I did cover him as well on the same episode as Akari Kaida, but, you know, here we go. So he would get a start at Capcom, contributing tracks to Street Fighter Alpha, the arcade version, would do the Underground Laboratory for Resident Evil 2, would do this game, Rockman and Forte, moved over to Squaresoft, and did Parasite Eve 2, would become one of the main composers for Final Fantasy XI, the MMO from the early 2000s, worked on Tetramaster, would go on to work on Blood of Bahamut, contributed to Final Fantasy 13-2, Final Fantasy 13, or Final Fantasy Dimensions, Final Fantasy 14, Guardian Cross, Demon Score, Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, Dead Man's Cross, Glorious Blades, Final Fantasy Dimensions 2, Final Fantasy 15, Episode of Prompto, Final Fantasy 14, Stormblood, and then last credit was Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins. Oh goody, with Jack Garland, who's out to take on Chaos. He doesn't give a explicitive deleted. Think about what you're talking about, Lich. Haven't played it, just enjoyed the talk and watching the cutscenes uploaded on YouTube. They're very funny. But now it's time to get back to the matter at hand, which there isn't much left of, because that was all I wanted to do, was just present these tracks, you know, Tengu Man's and Astro Man's multiple themes, and just kind of have fun, share it, you know, quick and easy. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and hope you decide to come back into VGMporium for more. You know, you can find VGMporium at your social medias like Twitter, Instagram, as well as on all your favorite podcatchers such as Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Audible, and as well as a soon-to-be regularly updated YouTube. And I've been your host, Rage Cage, and you can find me on the same social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, sometimes. And hey, if you have a special order you'd like to make, a special request for a song, just send it on over to VGMporium@gmail.com. And I'll just be collecting them up until I have enough to bulk order them in and do a dedicated episode. And that is a fun time indeed. So again, I've been your host, Rage Cage, and hope to see you again next time here in VGMporium.